Welcome to Wisdom Within Radio, where we strive to learn and share with you the mysteries of spirituality, health, quantum physics, and more with your host, your guru, and my friend, Lyndsey Paul.
Hey, thanks, Abraham Deweese, my sidekick, co-host, and comedian.
How you doing today?
I'm doing well. So we have now been on YouTube for about a month or so, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we used to be on KKNW 1150 AM here in the Seattle area for almost 3 years.
For exactly 3 years.
For exactly 3 years.
3 years and 1 week.
3 years and 1 week. He's the timekeeper. I'm usually late to things, or sometimes I'm early and I just don't keep track of time. So it's good to have you, Abraham.
Oh, well, no problem. No problem. I'm glad I can keep you in a linear frame of thought. That's not a problem.
I appreciate that. Anything to keep me on the, on
the straight and narrow?
Not narrow for sure, but straight.
Well, if you're trying to keep you on a linear frame of thought, it would have to be the straight and narrow.
Maybe it would be the straight and narrow then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Were you the kid who drew outside the lines?
Yeah, I did actually. I drew outside the lines. How did you know?
Because you didn't go to Catholic school like I did.
I have
when you go to Catholic school like me, they hit you and beat you until you draw between the lines.
Got it. I did, for I think a year, go to Presbyterian Sunday school, and that was enough for me. I would never be caught dead in a Catholic school.
Wow, that's mean.
Mostly because after that, I did not enjoy religion. So.
You'd probably burst into flames with all your heathen antics, right?
Right, all my heathen adventurous antics.
Lyndsey, you are a psychic, a medium, spiritual healer.
Yes.
You help people with readings.
Yes.
And that's why we're here. We're taking readings. In fact, we're on Periscope right now, taking questions from the audience. You also can do mediumship with the other side.
Yes. Speaking to spirit.
Okay, great.
Yes.
And you can do aura readings.
Aura readings.
You do Reiki.
Reiki.
You do yoga.
I'm a yogi.
You're an yogi. And
yogi, yes.
And what else do you do?
I don't know. I think I'm a pretty awesome friend to Abraham Deweese here. And yeah, we do a show every week, and we have been recently. We were voted.
We were ranked number 2 in the best in Western Washington, 2 years running now.
Yes, and 2 years running, I was also voted the number 1 psychic in Seattle, according to Thumbtack.
Oh, nice.
So
congratulations.
Yeah, we like to achieve here.
All right, so Lyndsey, what I'd like to do is show the audience a little bit of what you do.
Yes.
Susie Butte, who's here on Periscope right now, and that Periscope address is @Lynds, LYNDZ. She's asking that she's mentioning that she's worried about.
The Paul part. @Lyndsey.
Oh, @Lynds. Lynds Paul. Sorry, LYNDZPAUL.
Yes.
Yes. Check it out. Lyndsey, you have Periscopes pretty much every other day. Yeah. Pretty much every day.
Pretty much every day. Periscope is this new app that I discovered, and is a great way of reaching people that want to connect with you in a live stream. So often what I do is I will sit down and either pull a card or do a reading for someone. So.
And right now we have a good example. Susie Butte is on Periscope and has asked us the following question. She is worried about her health. Are you getting any kind of reading off of her?
So, Susie, when I tap into you, I feel off balance. I actually feel like it's connecting to the brain a little bit. I feel like it has to do with something that is being ingested or has been ingested in the past. And I feel like it's also affecting the blood. My suggestion is if you haven't gone to the doctor, to go to the doctor and get a checkup first and foremost, because I'm not a doctor. I can tell you what I'm sensing, but overall what I'm getting with you is that there's something off, and it has to do with the blood. It has to do with something that was ingested before, and now the body's reacting to it or responding to it. I feel like you're off balance. And when I say off balance, I feel like I have issues walking, or I get lightheaded when I stand up too quick. And so my concern for you is that, are you getting proper nutrition? Is there something toxic in your system that could be detoxed out? That would be my answer to that question. Yeah. What
do you get? Do you get that from everybody, though? I mean, in the American society, we don't eat very well. I mean, I'm an example of that. I don't eat very well either.
Right.
But I mean,
we don't.
Wouldn't you be able to use that same argument for a lot of people?
Not necessarily. Not everyone is suffering from balance issues or eating something that is toxic, although every single person I see is different. And being a healer, I might be able to tap into Bob. I might be able to tap into you, Bob, our producer. I might be able to tap into either one of you and get completely different feelings. And the way that empathy works is that in my body, I receive what I feel from you. So if you are having a headache, I may feel pressure in my head when I'm talking to you. If you have digestive issues, I'll go immediately to my abdomen and I'll feel burning. If when spirit comes through and I'm talking to spirit, if they've passed from something like a heart attack, I may feel like somebody's pressing on my chest. If somebody had an aneurysm, I may get a very distinct sharp pain in my head. So if there's been an overdose, I'll feel this overwhelming feeling of just being completely not able to control sort of this feeling in my body. It's like when you get the flu, when you have the flu, you feel like you're all over the place, but you can't describe exactly why. It's just this peaked feeling of not really being able to sort of control the body. I'm able to recognize within my body what I'm sensing and how that differs for each person. Because I'm not a doctor, I can't say that's a hemorrhage in the left hemisphere or the right hemisphere, but I can tell you where it's at, what I'm feeling, and how I connect it to my body and how I read my body. So,
but isn't everybody able to tap into their own self?
Not necessarily.
And learn that, or learn, okay.
Yes, they can.
I feel like I'm about to cough, and so there's that kind of like,
and counterintuitive sort of, or I guess
or that intuitive, aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I do believe that we can all tap into our bodies. I mean, if I'm going to look at it from that perspective, yes, we can tap into our bodies and ask our bodies every day what is needed. And waking up in the morning, finding that quiet space and asking. But a lot of times people get so busy, they may be stuck in traffic, they may be sitting in front of a computer all day, they may be distracted by the drama in their life, they may be just a really busy person doing other things that they also love. It doesn't necessarily have to be negative, but as a result of that, we often don't make the time for ourselves to sit down and breathe, to sit down and really feel ourselves out. And so when people come to me, one of the things that I do is I see their aura. And I often say that I see the physical part of you, but I see the many layers of energy around you. And as a result of seeing those many different layers of energy, I'm looking at not just the physical aspect, I'm looking at the mental, the emotional, the spiritual. And as a result, I can not only just see color, I feel densities. I feel the quality of the energy. Is it clear? Oftentimes people who are on blood pressure medication or they're doing drugs or they are not clear in one way or another, especially in the endocrine system, will have a fog in front of them. And so everybody's a little bit different. And I feel like I'm looking at a map, and everybody I've ever seen and sit in front of me, all of them have different ways that energy is shown. So it's not always the same.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. Got another question here from Shay630. Shay630 would like a reading.
Okay, is there a specific question?
Just a general reading.
Okay, so Shay, here's the thing about general readings, and I like to explain it this way, is when I am reading someone, I feel like I am like, and I say this at a lot of the events that I do, is that I feel like I am a camera, and I'm a wide angle lens camera, so I will see a big picture, and as a result of seeing this big picture, I can see everything. So if you're not asking highly calibrated questions of what exactly you want to know, I'm going to zoom in on whatever I want. And that may not be the question you want me to answer, but because you asked a basic question of what do I pick up about you, something I feel about you is it's time for you to step into being seen more. I feel like I see a lot of watching, and I feel like you take the back seat, and as a result of taking the back seat, I get the feeling that it's time for you to really step forward and show who you really are. And that may also be becoming more comfortable with allowing yourself and the things that you do to be seen, whether it's in your work environment, your family environment, is to start coming into honoring your voice and speaking. I feel really quiet with you. I feel like I get the sense of sort of biting my tongue and not really saying what I want to say or expressing myself in the way that I want to express myself.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of worry a little bit about the general readings because it almost seems like there is something specific that they're looking for.
Right.
But whenever anybody asks you about a general reading, and we've had that on the radio show a lot, in your mind, there's something that you dialed into this show for. There is something that is making you want to hear other people's readings, because it might answer your own. So please, when you do give us a shout out, either on Periscope or on your website, a little more specifics might be helpful, right?
Well, it would be helpful, but again, the main thing is that I'm here to read. And if you want me to do a general reading, I don't mind doing them, but it may not be what you want. And if you walk away feeling dissatisfied, most of the time it has to do with ask highly calibrated questions, and I often say that. But one of the other things I also believe, Abraham, is that we do tend to hear what other people are receiving and go, but that would fit for me. If you're connecting to it, there's a reason you're resonating with it. And oftentimes the reason you're resonating with it is because it is a message that you're probably meant to receive as well. When I do events with different groups of people, I say to people, hey, if there's a spirit coming through and you're receiving some wisdom from that message, why stop it from coming through just because it wasn't addressed to you? It's part of the sharing of the process, and this process is really beautiful, and a lot of really beautiful energy can come through. You're listening to it, you're in the same room, absorb what's being said.
Can you over-calibrate your questions? Can the question be so specific that it's no longer anything you can get a reading on? Or
well, yes, I've had people reach out to me, and I'm just going to use this person as an example because I can. Is that they wanted to know information about the stock market, and they wanted to know exact information about the stock market. They wanted to know the names of the stocks. They wanted to know the time that they should put in their money, or take their money out or sell. And it got to a point where it was how can I control and manipulate the market so that it'll be to my benefit? And that, it wasn't even so much highly calibrated as I would say the word controlling. If you're trying to control something with your question and you're asking a psychic to look into it, most of the time the answer is not going to be what you want it to be. And we may not pick up anything at that point because you're not meant to have that information.
Is there any problem with trying to control your destiny, though? I mean, that seems like a human condition.
If you believe in destiny, do you think that something is predestined and fated to happen, or do you believe that you have free will to exert onto it? Because if you feel that you can control something that is predestined for you, then that's your belief. But my belief is that we have free will and we can exert and create our own realities. And that's often something I've said many times before, is that we create our own realities. The reality isn't controlling us. The circumstances aren't controlling us. We are in this space, and we're the front seat driver. So we've got to stop taking the back seat and expecting things to sort of unfold for us. We've got to get in the front seat and really start to exert our presence. And the stronger it is, and this is why I do yoga, this is why I do a lot of what I do, is because my presence needs to be strong. I need to be that little blip on the map that is blinking on your GPS.
Right.
I want to be seen. I want to be heard, and I want the universe to also recognize that.
But a lot of people, we've all heard this before, especially, from the background that I'm from.
Yeah.
You hear people say, things are God's will. That event happened as by direction of God.
And there's really nothing, there's really absolutely nothing wrong with having a higher source, and I actually encourage people to have that. But when we start blaming things on people, on a source that is really just this all-powerful energy that's being channeled to you, you're taking it and you're putting a label on it and saying, this didn't serve me in this way. And so I don't know that necessarily is the case for me. I think that we are the ones that are in control. If you were driving a car and you turned it to the left, and then you went, well, you know what? It's God's fault because he created a car that now turns to the left. And if it would have never turned to the left, I would have never gotten into this car accident. But you were the driver. I would have to disagree.
What you're saying is that kind of argument then allows you to absolve yourself of sin or absolve yourself of any, what do you call it? Blame. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think blame and guilt is something that we choose to take on anyways. It's like, if I wanted to blame you for something, I could project that energy at you, and it's up to you to accept it. Do you really want to be blamed, or are you going to accept that as the role that you're playing or not? So yeah, I really, destiny, you have to be careful with the words you use. And I've often said this to people is the things you listen to, the people you surround yourself with, the words that you say create everything in your reality. If you're sitting there smiling and having a great time, guess what? You're probably going to draw other people in that need that or want to resonate with it. If you're sitting there speaking words that are not great and they're negative and they're despicable and you're purposely trying to hurt people, guess what kind of people you're going to be drawing to yourself? And it's really also has a lot to do with the kind of music we listen to. If you're in a relationship where you're really happy and you're listening to music that's all about, the blues and how horrible your life is and how your lady left you, but your lady never left you, you're probably creating a state of mind, and that experience that state that you're in, you're going to be resonating with someone leaving you. And so you may also be creating some of your own problems. So be careful with the things that you resonate with and be really conscious of it, because the energy that you surround yourself with can become you, and it can become the state that you exist in.
Yeah, but I feel like people want to listen to music that matches their mood, right?
Got it, yeah.
Now, you're saying that sometimes that music can perpetuate that mood and you don't break out of it. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is not necessarily that it's perpetuating the mood, but your feelings are influenced by the things that you have, that you experience in your reality. And then this may be your habit. Your habit may be to listen to really angry music. And then when you're listening to this angry music, you might actually be in a semi-good mood. When you're done listening to that music, a majority of the time you're going to match the mood of that music. So you now may be angry and mad at the world, because you started off in a semi-neutral, okay place, and now you're not. I'm not saying that you can blame the music. You're listening to it. You're the one giving permission to what you allow into this. But at the same time, you've got to be really conscious of the things that you surround yourself with, because those things influence you. And you're not going to get a critical distance away from going, oh, I'm just listening to a song about being angry and it's not going to influence me. It can still influence you. And we're not just talking about music. We're talking about the people that you carry around you. If you're around somebody that's not happy, if you're around somebody who is constantly looking at the negative side of things, you're probably going to start doing the same thing as well. And you're going to start resonating with it. There was this quote that was said by somebody, I can't remember right now the name of it, of the person, but he said that you become like the 10 people that you most hang out with. So you hang out with 10, look at the 10 people that are most close to you. Are they successful? Do they encounter problems with their employment? Do they encounter problems with their relationships? Do they solve problems very easily? What is their demeanor? What is their life like? And how are you mimicking that in your life by hanging around them or being with them? I'm not saying leave all of your friends. I'm just saying start being around the people that you want to emulate, because they're going to encourage you to emulate some of the same things. If you want to be healthy, start building the group of people that you have around you to have healthy people in there.
Well, how do you healthily ingratiate yourself to new people but push other people to the background? I mean,
it's like what we do. It's like what we do all the time, really. I mean, you're always going to be meeting new people. Just because you're meeting new people doesn't mean that those other people that you love, that are maybe not the best influences on you, means that they become irrelevant. They're still part of your life. You still love them. You still have a certain respect and bond with them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that anything bad about them. It just means that you're influencing yourself with the people that you have around you. So by influencing yourself, bringing the people in that you want to emulate, you're going to start learning from them. You're going to start emulating some of the things that they do, maybe some of their behaviors, maybe some of the things that they say, and maybe some of their routines that could also impact you in a really positive way as well.
Interesting. All right, so Gordon is asking, what is his aura? Can you do an aura reading for Gordon?
Yes, I can. So I see blue and I see pink. Blue is the primary color that is around him. And it's funny because it has a little bit of white at the edges as well. So as soon as I see Gordon, I see the silhouette of a person, I see a lot of blue. And the blue is sort of like a lighter royal blue color, almost like the shirt that I'm wearing, but more blue versus purple. The blue color is somebody who's the communicator, balance, peace. Expression is really important to this person. They need to be able to express themselves and have a channel for expression. The white at the edges means that there's sort of this divine sort of light that is starting to come in. This higher vibration is starting to come into his life. The pink can represent somebody who is playful. There's little pops of it. So at times he comes in and out of this state of play. It also has to do with somebody who is curious and going through sort of a healing. The pink that he has is a little bit brighter. So the challenge that he'll have with other people and their interpretation of his energy is he taking things seriously enough? Pinks can also be very misunderstood for their demeanor, because the brighter the pink is, the more childlike they are, the more fun that they can have. So if it was more yellow, I would think that there's more action involved with it. But for me, the pink is the state of mind. It also connects to the heart and the more playful qualities of our heart. So
when you see Gordon with the blue and the pink,
yeah,
are you seeing the one layer on top of another, or are you seeing like maybe at his head it's blue up here and the stomach it's pink? So how does that look to you? What can you describe that?
Yeah, actually, I can. So if you could take the silhouette of a person, so just an outline of a person, and then put blue light around that silhouette and see it radiating out, that's what I see. And then at the very edges, there's these beautiful wisps of white. And then in front, like as if somebody had blown bubbles, I'm making it up as I go along because this is sort of what I would associate with it. But if somebody were to blow bubbles, and you would see these beautiful little like iridescent bubbles of colors, moving across, that's what I see as far as these little pink things moving across. So there's this playful kind of movement that's happening in his life that feels really healthy to me. And the pink, again, is the color of the heart. So it has to do with love. It has to do with relationships. It has to do with connecting to the self in a really deep way.
Lyndsey, can you feel auras?
I do feel them. And this is interesting that you asked that because I've often told people that in our culture, we tend to really focus on the sight, clairvoyance. And it's not all about our seeing because some people hear it or feel different things. Some people might experience their psychic sensitivities in a lot of other ways, like tasting or smelling. And we can go on and on. Like claircognizance is knowing, which is an instant download. So for people who are feeling colors, like Sydney, the person that I mentor, she feels colors. She doesn't see them. She'll look at someone and she'll just think, she'll either download and think blue or she'll feel green. She might feel green, and green might feel like grass to her. Green might also feel like touching a leaf. So we have these associations with different senses, and it's just a matter of how we filter and bring through that information and how we process it. Our brain only processes a small part of it. The rest of our body processes it. So if we're getting the information and we feel it in our fingertips, we have to pay attention to that as well as a psychic, as somebody who's really looking deeper than just what's being seen here. And
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Bring it a little more to this plane.
Yeah.
Can you feel, for example, our producer behind the camera, can you feel him radiating an aura? Or can you feel like me sitting next to you? Can you feel like...
Yes. Well, and they actually have done...
Like a physical sensation.
Yeah. They've done tests where they've blindfolded people and said, well, who is this person? What do you get? Who is this person? What do you get? And absolutely, you can feel their aura. If you're somebody who's clairsentient, which means clear feeling, you're going to be somebody who can feel those things. You'll recognize energies without needing to see them. And oftentimes I've met people who are very intuitive or psychic, and they might be blind in one eye, and they're still able to sense the different energies around them, and they can discern between it. So I could still feel the energies around me.
I think I may have asked my question incorrectly. I'm asking more from a physical standpoint rather than an intuitive standpoint. I mean, if somebody were to walk in the room, do you ever get like a sense of feeling, like that old, hair standing up on your...
Oh, I get what you're saying. Like do I physically process it?
Yes.
Yes and no. But then again, how that works is through, when you say from an intuitive standpoint or from a physical standpoint, that's where it's hard to discern. For somebody who's experiencing...
There isn't a line for you.
There's not really a huge line. Like, how can I tell you the way that I see things and then also see things intuitively? For me, they're both my way of seeing and my version of reality. So it absolutely is just different for each person and each intuitive. So I can't speak on behalf of every single intuitive. I know we all work differently, but when somebody comes in, I can feel in my body whether or not I want to be around them. I can sense whether or not they're carrying something heavy. I pick up a lot of different information, but if we're just talking about auras, absolutely you can pick up so much. Even just by sitting across the room, you might be able to just sense it from there without even having to interact with them.
All right, we got a couple minutes left here. Just want to ask a really big one.
Okay.
A really big question. This comes in from Robin. What happens when someone commits suicide? Is suicide wrong? Is that a fundamental issue?
So
I'm going to add something onto this one, onto Robin's question. Isn't it one's own choice whether you choose to exist in this plane or not, versus the, in the Catholicism, that it is a sin because you're taking away one of God's creations?
Well, I believe that we all create our paths before we come here. And I believe that we've agreed to specific contracts with that. And we have blueprints. So it's saying, hey, I'm going to build this building and I want to live this life. I'm not going to tell you whether or not it's right or wrong. That's not my place to say, this suicide was right and this one was wrong. And like you said, with fundamental, we can get into, everybody believes different things. Everybody has different conditioning and different backgrounds. But when we look at it from a spiritual perspective, we have to understand that there's that blueprint that exists, that we've made a specific contract. If we don't follow through with it, that's up to you and the powers that be to what that is going to mean. I have seen I've had friends who've committed suicide. I've had a family member that committed suicide. I've seen many people commit suicide. They are still on the other side. They still communicate. They're still learning. They're still healing. And I think that my teacher often says this is, death is just a transition. We're really not, we might be physically dying, but we're transitioning to a different state of our spirit existing. And when we do that, just because we wanted to die physically, if I wanted to kill myself, if I wanted to physically take myself out, my consciousness is still going to exist after I leave this plane of existence. So when we look at suicide, it can be very complicated, but I think on a simplistic level, it depends on what you believe, but it also doesn't even, if I were to look at it even deeper, it really doesn't matter what you believe. This person committed suicide, and they are going to experience their next frame of reality based on the deeds that they've done on this earth. And I've often seen spirits still be in a state of depression and anxiety when they cross over. It doesn't mean that they escape all of their problems. They still have these things that they couldn't run away from, and they still have to deal with it. They still have to learn from it. They still have to grow from it. They have people always guiding them, or spirits guiding them, but it's really up to that spirit what that is going to mean to them.
When it gets down to ghosts, one of my favorite topics.
Yes.
You mentioned a lot of them are either victims of a violent death, homicide, or suicide.
Yes.
So suicide, it seems to me, if you believe in ghosts, is not an escape from this realm.
No. Sometimes the spirits do end up staying here. If they've died a violent death or they've committed suicide, they may still be worried about the people that they left behind, or they may be worried about their animal that they didn't take care of before they left. And a lot of spirits often tell me before they committed suicide that they didn't want to. Like in the last 2 seconds of them, right before they did it, they didn't want to. And that they wish they would have never pulled the trigger, or whatever it was that they had done. They wish they would have never done it. So a majority of the spirits that have done that. But we have to understand from a point of view that some of them are imbalanced and they don't see clearly. And I've often seen spirits that have gone over to the other side, that have crossed over, and they're in sort of like a hospital sort of place. I encourage all of us to stay here and keep living out the life that we've come here wanting to live. But I also feel like we can ask our guides, if you're to that point where you want to commit suicide. There's so many people in this realm that want to help you, and there's so many. There are spirits that are always wanting to support you in your path and staying here to finish the purpose that you came here for. And there's a reason that you did come here. So
what about in the scenario of an assisted suicide, where you're in the hospital and you're never going to actually leave the hospital?
Well, I feel like that for me is a little bit different. When we're looking at assisted suicide, we're looking at for what I would consider grace. You know you're going to die of something that could potentially take a really long time, or be a really harsh death, and you want to die before everybody watches you suffer. That's your decision, and if you choose to do that, then the ones that you love will support you. The ones that are around you that want to see you live the life you want to live will support you in that. I don't think there's anything wrong. I mean, oftentimes I asked that question when my mom was very sick at the end. If she would have looked at me and said, "Lyndsey, I want to die," I would have supported her 110%, because I wanted to support her where her spirit wanted to go. I don't want her to linger and stay inside of a body that no longer served her. But this is such a good question to ask, because we bring it into ourselves and we make it about ourselves. That's our ego. And if I were to be like, "No, I need my mom here, she can't go," then I'm making it about me. But if I put myself aside for a moment and really sit with my mom's spirit, I'm going to understand what she wants. And she's going to make it happen whether I help her or not. It has nothing to do with me and my ego and whether I say yes or no to it. Because what she's saying is, I'm going to will this into existence, and this is what I want. So I do believe that if that's what they want, then they're going to make it happen.
So, excuse me. So the two are not really related. They're both suicide, yes, but they're both completely disparate examples of where somebody is in their life.
Yeah, we're talking about different frames of mind, or different states of mind. And when we're talking about that, we're talking about what are the habits and the experiences that have led up to this, and complete state that you're in and what has caused this incredible split that is telling you that you need to leave this life or escape this life. My teacher often said it's a form of escapism. And when we talk about escapism, leaving the body itself before it is your time means that you don't want to deal with something, you don't want to cope with something. But there is other reasons why, right? There's these levels of imbalance. It may be chemical. It may be that there's circumstances that are beyond your control that you wished you could have controlled. And really, there's help out there. And I think we'll put it in the description, the suicide number, but to reach out to the suicide hotline if you are feeling that way.
All right, well, that's about all the time we have. Thank you to everybody who is watching us currently on Periscope, and thank you to all of you out there who will be watching us on YouTube. Please leave comments below. Bring out your ideas. We'll respond.
Yes, thank you for listening, you guys. We'll see you next time.